Hello, dear audience. Welcome to the YouTube channel Dr. Zia Ahmed. Today I'm going to discuss very important problem of the students that when they want to make a character sketch or develop a character sketch out of the stories or the fictions they have read, they usually are tormented by the feeling what type of things you should include, how the character should be developed, what kind of sources they should be using. So this video is going to provide the kind of answer to all these questions which normally arise in the minds of the students. This development of the character sketch is at the level of the student, not at the level of the scholar. So it should not be taken a very scholarly one, it should be taken as the solution of the problem of the students. For example, the very first thing that one should take into account while developing a character sketch out of the text is to see what is the idea behind that. I'm sorry, or what is going to be developed as a further idea. What is the kind of thing or theme to be used inside the character development? That should be fixed first of all. When the idea has been fixed, then the characters should be looked through different sources. For example, the text itself should be looked on, and then there should be some kind of development with regard to the author's point of view, and then the theme of the novel or the story that should also be taken care of. One should see in what context and how that character has been developed and how it is being read by the reader and how it is going to put the impression on the mind of the reader. These things should be first of all considered. Once this idea is established, then we should go to find out what are the appearances of the character. How does the character appear in the novel? I mean his physical appearances, then the type of things which go to identify him, what type of man he is, what is his identity, or what he is supposed to do, and how much is the status developed of that character inside the novel. I mean, is he given the most important status, or he's given the rich status, or he's given the poor status, or what is the kind of importance with respect to the status of that character inside the text or the story of the novel. After you have gone through these things, then you must consider the roles which are assigned by the writer to this character, and these roles should also be considered with respect to the other stories which are mentioned in the fiction and the novel, the stories of the other characters, for example. And how does this character influence the stories of the other people inside the novel? Not only these stories, but also the performances should be considered with respect to this. The performance, the performativity, or whatever word we may use for this, how does the character perform inside the story? These things should be taken care of before developing the character sketch of the kind of novel. Then when you have developed these things, then you are mentioning these things, it is very much necessary that these ideas should be supported with the text which is underhand. That text should come forward to support your claims. Unless this is done, your claims can be just generalizations. But if the textual kind of support arises, or if there are available certain theorists and critics, if their support is arising, then definitely it's going to lend a kind of colors to the development of the story of the character of that novel. So look into the text and find out certain textual material to support your idea. Not only this thing, but also if the students are aware, or their teachers can tell them, if there are some other stories, some other characters in the courses, in the syllabi, or in general fiction stories, then there should be the kind of comparisons and contrasting technique used in order to compare and contrast this character with the other characters as well. This would definitely make very beautiful. For example, if one character is in the poetry, other character is in the drama, but they are having similarities or opposite contrasts, or even opposite with respect to time or the age or the place, that should be taken care of. Once this thing is done, in the end of that development of the character, you should prove your point of view by taking the similar beginning which was started by you in the beginning, what idea was established by you in the beginning, or what question was asked by you about the character in the beginning. See that you have been able to provide the answer to that. Once you do this, the character sketch will be definitely complete. Now here I would give the example of the character of Dara Shikoh Shehzad from the novel Maat Smoke by Mohsin Hamid, how all these things can be applied to him. For example, first of all, we are entering into this example of developing the character of Dara Shikoh. How we should do that? For example, first of all, we would be looking at the text what general opinion arises out of that, which idea we can establish about that person. For example, one of the ideas that he's a frustrated young man, he's an unemployed person, he's an angry, rebellious young man, and who is turned into rebellion not by himself but by the society. If he is responsible for not developing himself into a proper way, then there is certain social responsibilities as well which the writer possibly. So we can ask a question whether it is the society which is 100% responsible, or it is Dara Shikoor Shehzad who is himself responsible. This is the same question which is asked by the dramatist or in some of the dramas, whether the situation is responsible, plot is responsible, or the character is going to be responsible. So similar kind of ideas to be established on Dara Shikoor Shehzad in the novel Maat Smoke by Mohsen Hamid. After establishing this idea, we need to look into the text and find out what are the things which are available there. For example, in the first 2 chapters, we get the idea about him that he is a well-built, fearless young man, he's a confident young man, and he is alone but having no friends close to him. He's considered a type of person who is wasp, who is stinging person, who is critical person, not the normal kind of lot, who is so much confident that he can do anything, face any person, talk to any person, and then behave in any way. This is the type of person that we are finding. This is the textual evidence possibly is available there that we must quote in order to do that. In the first 2-3 chapters, we have these evidences all together. And then secondly, we may look at the childhood which is provided by the writer, at that childhood which was spent with Uzi, one of his friends, and one of the person or the boy which have been with him. But definitely Uzi's father, although he tried to take care of this Dara Shikoor much, but he was taking more care of his own son, and definitely it has to happen. So in such circumstances, this kind of unfair dealing with the Dara, Shehzad could create in him certain feelings which may make him a type of rebellious person. Ultimately, the same happens that Uzi has a lot of education, the foreign education, but Dara doesn't have that. On the basis of his education, he gets a job in the bank, and in the bank also is not able to behave properly. Because of his rebellious nature, he is there to fight with the very important account holder of the bank, and there he tells him that he has got nothing to do with him, and as a result he loses his job. So he becomes a jobless person also because of the social circumstances which we have so far developed. So this thing also should be supported by the textual evidence. Police system in chapter 3 and chapter 4 goes through a lot of light on that police system, but he deals very fairly, very successfully with the police people as well. And ultimately, when he's got nothing, he loses everything. He loses electricity, he loses his phone, he loses his servant Banusi. At that time, he meets Murad Badshah, who is a type of drug seller, rickshaw driver. He is also one of the people who need to succeed in the society by whatever the means they may adopt. So he meets him, with the help of him, he sells the drugs as well, and after that he is caught red-handed, and ultimately he is beaten up by the people also. And then he is under a plan that he should rob certain bank or certain institution, and there he does rob, and because of his robbing he is definitely arrested and put into jail also. So these are some of the situations in which our character is present. We should see his performance and activity with respect to the other stories. For example, first of all, the story of Mumtaz. Mumtaz is again a woman who is frustrated with her life, who is not happy with her life, even if she is having everything. She wants to do something great, but she cannot. Her husband wouldn't let her do that. Her father-in-law wouldn't let her do that. Her son wouldn't let her do that, and that is why she turns towards Dara Shikoor, and Dara Shikoor, being a readily available person, becomes her lover as well and fulfills the requirements which she has to do, and ultimately she is able to become a very superstar type of newspaper writer, a type of journalist she becomes. In that way, Dara has a very positive influence on her life, but she may not be having that positive, but still she proves to be a support for Dara Shikoor. Same is the case with the family. Dara Shikoor's servant Banusi ultimately, after standing by him for a very long time, leaves him as well, and then his family tries to support him in a very great way, but still his family cannot fulfill all his requirements, so Dara is all alone in this world. Dara becomes a robber and ultimately becomes a criminal as well. His criminality is not because of him. He wants to save his friend Uzi, and so these are some of the stories and performances with which he's going. Now, if we try to conclude, we will be able to see that Dara is not a bad person basically. He became bad because of his circumstances, because of the people around him, because of the rampant corruption and the type of feudal system that we are having here, and the type of classes differences which were there. These all things combined together to make him a type of criminal, and that is why he was engaged in this type of life. So if you write this character in that way, possibly it will be liked by a number of people, but it should be supported by the textual evidence, definitely. So ultimately, when anybody has prepared the character like that, do not fail to send me a soft copy to have a checkup of that. Thank you for watching this video.